Like my new sunglasses? I got them in downtown Portland, Maine. I actually used to live here. I lived here until 2007. And I have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to visit my home state for the first time in several years. But I want to show y'all something really cool. So I am from Maine originally, and I am returning temporarily to help family out with a family matter. But I figure while I'm here, and while I still have time in this wonderful little city, I may as well show the good people of the internet something really cool.
Hello.
Who are you?
I'm Ryan Kavanaugh. My Instagram handle is Monsters by the Sea, and I'm taking part in a project here in Portland called Portland Downtown, where they have selected different artists to paint the utility boxes around town. So each artist is chosen to do a different one.
Yeah, we've got a similar program down in Bentonville, down near me.
Yeah, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere we go around the city, there's all this great, brightly colored artwork warming up spots that, just used to be a utility box.
I have been to a few different cities across the United States. I went to Salt Lake City, Utah a couple years ago and saw, but they basically just wrap pretty pictures around their electrical boxes.
Yeah,
these are the real deal though.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just gonna go around and get a nice picture of your originally designed, hand-painted, hard work. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk with me.
Thank you.
So I went to school here, Maine College of Art. It used to just be Maine College of Art from 2001 to 2002. 9/11 happened my first week of classes here. I was a painting major. I did not have a good time here. Partly because at the time, management had no accountability for vandals and thieves, which I did find myself on the wrong end of a few times, but and also I was young and I was pressured to attend this specific school instead of the ones I had originally applied to and wanted to go to. So they were actually fixing to throw me out at the end of the school year of 2002. So I officially withdrew. I quit. I was tipped off by a sympathetic staff member, said, hey, if you ever want to go to college again, you should probably withdraw and just walk away. So that's what I did. So this is the site of the former Hay Gallery off of Congress Street. When it was the Hay Gallery, it is now the Pearl Gallery. And this was the first art gallery I ever applied for an exhibition at, back in the days when artists actually had to carry these cool physical portfolio cases. And I walked across 2 streets to get here, show up, get laughed out, and then march my happy ass right back to my car. Perpendicular to which, at 7 Congress Square, Portland, Maine, is the Portland Museum of Art. I don't think I've been here in 10 years. Winslow Homer. Not long after the donation of 17 Winslow Homer original artworks by Charles Shipman Payson in 1976, the Portland Museum of Art drafted an expansion plan for which to not only safely store these artworks, but also acquire and eventually display more. These donations helped pay for the completion of the Charles Shipman Payson building in 1983, as well as this exhibition that you see on your screen today. Winslow Homer's work is quite beloved in my home state of Maine, mostly because of his fondness for rural New England scenery and working-class maritime life. In February of 1836, Winslow Homer was born in Boston, Massachusetts, but we Maine folk don't really hold that against him. So this is a technique that I also like to do myself, sometimes with black and white media on darkened paper or colored paper. In Mr. Homer's case, gouache and graphite. I've actually never used gouache at all, but yeah, I did not know this. I mean, I figured I wasn't the first person to do it in my own art, but yeah, so that makes 2 Maine artists who use that same technique. As I mentioned at the beginning of my previous video where I visited Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville, Arkansas, unfortunately the PMA does not appear to offer discounted or special programs for veterans or first responders. The PMA's admission price to the Winslow Homer event, unsurprisingly, was quite expensive, $30 US. Portland, Maine is notoriously expensive to visit, but even by local standards, that's expensive. However, that $30 did include general admission to the rest of the museum, at least. I swear I can almost hear that wave crashing against that rock, like I would at Acadia National Park. Y'all have heard of N.C. Wyeth, the famous painter from Maine, his son and grandson. The whole family has a long-standing legacy of landscapes and mainscapes, if you will. I've been to their official museum location out in Rockport many, many years ago, but I'm not going to have a chance to travel out that far this trip, if I ever get a chance to visit my home state again. Now, this is something I've never seen before in my past visits to the PMA, is works by indigenous artists and crafters. Ancient or contemporary, so this is neat. Wow. This is a first. Now, I rarely see American art museums incorporate works by indigenous Americans. It's giving me Still Wakes the Deep vibes. You know the scene I'm talking about in the staircase. In a general sense, the state of Maine does pride itself on its long-standing arts tradition, including the likes of, as previously mentioned, the Wyeth family, Louise Nevelson, Bob Drinan, and, hopefully one day, your humble narrator here. This long-standing prideful tradition, however, also brings up a long-standing kind of embarrassing concern about life in Portland, Maine, and life in Maine in general, and that is the ever-increasing expense as more and more people from out of state, particularly wealthier cities like Boston and New York, buy up properties and gentrify them. Oh, hey, I went to my first concert there. The first time I ever visited this museum, I think, was in 1998. I was still in high school, and it looked very different back then than it does now. Most of the work on the walls was strictly Maine-oriented. Naturescapes, seascapes. When I was younger, I used to call it lobsters and lighthouses kind of stuff, because that's just what's sold. Maine is very much a tourist economy, and for wealthier tourists, lobsters and lighthouses is exactly what they want to see. But my previous visit here, I want to say was roughly 10, 12 years ago, they've freshened their stock up pretty nice. You still get those classic rural New Englandy themes, but you also have like the whole rest of the world of art. God, I miss this place. This massive painting, it must be 7 or 8 feet tall. It's painted by an artist from Lebanon, Nabil Nahas. Nabil Nahas. The placard says he's still alive. I hope he's okay. Touching back on the subject of the expenses in Portland, Maine, if you do decide to visit the PMA, be advised that parking is expensive and difficult to find. For example, the Free Street parking lot is not free. It is $8 per hour and $45 for a full day's rate. Now, the museum themselves does validate parking, however, there is no significant discount unless you are a member of the PMA. Now, I suppose that, in theory, you could park your vehicle at the Hannaford or Shaw's parking lot and hop the nearby bus to the museum or in the general vicinity of it. Be advised, in Portland, Maine, property crimes, particularly thefts in the form of smash and grabs, are somewhat common. I recommend do not leave valuables in your car. In the past, I've criticized the arts communities in Portland, Maine in general, but especially Portland, when I was living and trying to work down here in the early to mid 2000s. I moved away in 2007. I've criticized a lot of galleries and this museum for being more lobsters and lighthouses focused, as I was saying earlier. Remember the Hay Gallery I pointed out earlier on the corner of the street there? It's right outside the museum. And I showed up and I made, God, whatever monstrosities I was making in my youth, I don't even think I still have any left. Basically laughed out, told to go myself, and having to carry my giant ass portfolio case back to my car. Yeah, that is what Portland, Maine's vibrant, rich traditional arts community used to be. Now there's still very much quite a bit of that here. You know, folks are drawn to sea life, seagulls, seascapes. Oh, look, a moose. Welcome to Maine. But my previous visit here about 10 to 12 years ago, this place has refreshed itself quite a lot. Like, the focus isn't just on what art, tourists, and even locals, what they think they want to see. They want to show the entire scope of human creativity. And I'm glad for that. You know, I think one issue, one conversation that people have around, AI art can all fall right off a cliff, because it's making pictures that people want to see, what they think they want to see. You know, type a few words, hit a button, and you get your own Hitler chew. But with galleries and museums and physical works of art, human-made works of art, murals, sculptures, music, dance, and whatnot, is that it shows the scope of human capacity for creativity. An advantage that our species has over a lot of the rest of the world, other intelligent creatures throughout the world, over most other primates, over cetaceans, over wolves, cats, dogs, what have you. I'm glad I got to take a trip out here, not just back to my home state, but this wonderful museum in Portland, Maine. So, general assessment of the Portland Museum of Art in Portland, Maine. That's Portland, Maine, not the fake one in Oregon. Portland, Oregon doesn't actually exist. It's a government psyop to lure all the hipsters and hippies and art people into one place, and that's when they'll strike. My general assessment of Portland Museum of Art in lovely, sunny, seaside Portland, Maine is highly recommend if you want to visit an art museum that is not terribly crowded, that is not as snooty, more vegan than thou kind of place. It has improved significantly and expanded significantly since the last time I was here, and that was like maybe 10 or 12 years ago. I would give it easily an 8.75 out of 10. The highest standard, of course, being the Met in New York City, which I only ever went to once, and I did not have a YouTube channel back then. Maine will always be home in my heart. I grew up here. I'm going to miss this museum. I'm going to miss my home state. I have so many memories. I have such formative parts of my life happened here in this city. I hope I get a chance to come back at some point in the future, but who knows? I hope for it. So Portland Museum of Art, Portland, Maine. That's Maine, not the fake one in Oregon. Highly recommend for a smaller yet just as vibrant and alive museum as those in the top of the line. It's your girl Ego Dram. Be good to each other.